Hi, and welcome back to the mini farm. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a full country fried steak dinner with mashed potatoes, white gravy, and green beans. I'm going to show you how to get the meat ready first. Then we're going to cut up the veggies and get the sides started so we can bread our steak, fry that up while we have our other stuff cooking in the background. This whole meal from start to finish will take about 30 minutes because we're letting things cook as we prepare other items. This time around, I used my air fryer to do the country fried steak, and it is hands down the best I've ever made, so I'm going to start making it this way from now on. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it using the air fryer machine. But I will also give you the traditional cast iron frying method that I've been using for years too, so you have an option if you don't have an air fryer at home. So if you want to see how to make an upgraded version of the old-time country classic, country fried steak, then just keep watching. But first, please give this video a thumbs up if you like videos like this, and click the subscribe button below if you haven't done so already. Without further ado, here's country fried steak with mashed potatoes and green beans and the classic white gravy. We're going to make country fried steak today, and to do that I'm going to cut up the roast. And I'm cutting it up when it's somewhat half frozen. It's not completely frozen, but it's pretty cold and it is frozen in the middle because it's just a little bit easier to cut it that way. Ideally, you want a leaner cut of meat, maybe like a sirloin, but this is all I had in my freezer. You can also get this already pre-sliced from your butcher or your local grocery store. They sell them already cut thin, most of them do anyway. But if not, then you can just slice your own. This was a fairly large roast for us, so I'm only going to use half of it and put the other half away to use for something else. Okay, for these pieces, I'm going to pound them out just to make them a little bit more tender. And to do that, you just take your mallet. Just going to flatten them out just a little bit because it does make them way more tender. You're also trying to even these out here because some sides are a little bit thicker than the other, so you want them to be one flat, even surface. We can now just set these aside and move on to the side dishes. We'll start off with the potatoes. 2 large potatoes is plenty for our family of 5. It makes just enough so we don't have leftovers. And to wash them, I usually either scrub them with a veggie scrubber or I scrub them against each other. Let's do a quick peel and chop. I normally don't peel my potatoes to chop them, but these are a little bit older, so they're starting to get wrinkly. So I like to peel them at that point. After peeling them, I'll give them a quick rinse before we slice them up. The smaller that you chop it up, the faster it'll cook. You just want even chunks. Just drop them right in your pot. Rinse them off a couple times until you get all the starches off of them. Then fill it up to about halfway up the pot, just enough to cover the potatoes with the water. And then bring it up to a boil. Turn the heat down to a simmer and cover them. And let them simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes is all it takes until they're tender. If you cover it, it'll boil faster, but you've got to watch it because it will overflow. And the last thing we're going to dice up tonight are the onions. We're just going to actually slice them for the green beans. And then we can put away our cutting board and our knife. Okay, for the green beans, you just want either bacon or bacon fat. I'm actually out of bacon, shockingly, but I always have bacon fat on hand. So take your medium-sized onion with your bacon fat. And you're also going to need 1 quart of home canned green beans or just 2 store-bought cans of green beans will do here. Then you want to take it to the stove and let it sit on medium-low heat just so you can kind of let it sweat out a little bit. Add pepper and some salt. We can now leave the onions and the potatoes on the stove. Since they're on low heat, we can just go do other stuff. Okay, for the breading station, you're going to want some flour. Let's do a little bit more than that. This is about a 1/4 cup. I'll put About a half cup in there. Panko. You can do breadcrumbs too, but panko makes it extra crispy. Eggs. Okay. I'm just gonna whisk the eggs really quick. I'm gonna add a little bit of cream to this one. Okay, let's move these out of the way for a little bit. For the steaks, you want to lay them out so we can season both sides. Salt and pepper on each side. Just a little bit of smoked paprika. And some garlic powder. Season both sides. Flip it over. I'm only gonna put the smoked paprika on one side though because it is pretty intense. Now that that's seasoned, we're going to work our way through the breading station. You want a wet hand and a dry hand. This is going to be my wet hand, this is going to be my dry hand. So what you do here with the dry stuff, put in the dry, toss it around with your wet. Drop it in, then switch to your dry hand again, cover it up. Let's try it again. Dry hand, shake it around, kind of cover it up. Shake off the excess, drop it in the wet section, flip, cover it really good, put it down here. Just keep going until you work your way all the way through. Let these sit for just a little bit. For the air fryer, you want to make sure that it's on a heat safe surface. So I just use an old cutting board for that one. My countertop isn't really heat safe, but you don't want to crowd the steaks in there. Go ahead and kind of lay them out in an even layer, but not touching or crowding really in there. And you want to set it to 400 degrees in 4 minutes. You're actually going to cook them for a total of 8 minutes. And if yours allows you to pause it in between and flip, then do that. But I don't feel like mine has that option. So it just kind of went all the way through to 8. So I set it to 4 minutes, flipped them, put it for another 4 minutes at 400 degrees, and then they came out perfectly. I just did a few rounds on that one since my basket is at the 3.5 quart. I think there's other ones out there that are much bigger, that have a bigger capacity, but this seemed to work fine in just 3 small batches. While the first batch of steaks is in the fryer, I'm gonna go ahead and check on the sides. The onions for the green beans are starting to get really caramelized, so I'm gonna add the green beans in at this point. There it goes. Alrighty. And then dump them in. Oh, I love the smell of home canned green beans. Green beans and liquid and all. I've never done a video on how to can these, so if you want to see a video on that, leave me a comment below. But I have done a blog post, so I can link that above. Now let that simmer all the way through. You can add some bacon bits here, or some like sauteed bacon that you put in there before, or some ham. Let it simmer for a little bit and kind of marinate in the flavors. It's already been salted in the jar before we canned it, so you don't really need to add much more to that. Just a little bit of black pepper. Okay, this is what they look like after 8 minutes. You're supposed to put them in for 4 minutes and then flip them halfway through without crowding the pan. I'm gonna lay 3 more strips in there. If you're doing this in a cast iron skillet, just fill it up just about 1/2 inch or so with oil, your favorite frying oil. Then cook them at 350 degrees for about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes each side, then flip it just until it's golden brown. And that's it. Okay, that was 4 minutes, so I'm gonna flip it and we'll put it in there for another 4. All right, while that's going, hubby asked me for some white gravy to go on his country fried steak. For the gravy, you want equal parts bacon fat and flour. So for this, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of bacon fat, 2 tablespoons of flour. Just kind of brown that flour in the bacon fat. This is a super simple gravy to make. Getting nice and bubbly. Give it about a minute. You don't want it too much, but you really want to cook out the floury taste. After 1 minute, just add in about a cup of milk. Whisk that in. Some pepper. Add some salt. Those together while that's going. Nice and thick now. And that is your gravy. If it's a little too thick for you, add some milk. If it's not thick enough, add some flour. I'm going to taste it for salt and pepper and see if it needs anything else. It definitely needs a little bit more salt. It's perfect. My potatoes are done. I'm going to drain off the water. The heat is off under here. There is some residual heat underneath. I'm going to finish off the potatoes. To do that, I'm going to take 3 tablespoons of butter. I drop them in 1/2 tablespoon at a time. Add some salt and pepper and a splash of milk. There's still low heat, like I said, underneath it, but just from the stove, so that it's not actually on, but it was hot before. If you have a gas stove, put it on low heat. And just take a potato masher and gently kind of mash it up. Go in there with a whisk and kind of finish it off, or just spoon. This is a little thick for me. I'm going to add some heavy cream. That was about a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. I'd also need just a pinch more salt. And just kind of slowly stir that in, so you don't want to splash it everywhere. Oh, that's perfect. I can feel it already. If it's too thick for you to move your spoon around in, you want to add a little bit more liquid. You can add a little bit more milk if you want, or heavy cream if you got it. Heavy cream is the better option. They're nice and fluffy and ready to go. So this is what it ended up looking like. Here's the gravy and some potatoes. We topped it off with a little bit more cracked pepper and some chives. Please let me know in the comments below how you liked this style of a video. I have never done a recipe that is 4 different dishes on one video before, so if you like whole meal recipes like that, please let me know below and I'll make more like that. Or if you like the old style of just one recipe at a time, let me know that too, so I know what to do next. As always, I'll have all the ingredients I used in today's meal listed in the information box below. If you like recipes like this, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, you can click on my face to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!